Poopy, go live here. We're going live somewhere, everywhere but where this. Oh, guys. Well, here's Sheila as usual. Oh my gosh, there we are. Well, maybe I'm live on Instagram. We are live everywhere. This is the first time. Welcome everybody who's actually coming on time. This is the first time I've started on time doing one of these things because Sheila is very tech challenged, and we're so happy to see. I'm hoping that it's playing out there in Facebook land, and I think we're playing on my YouTube channel here, which is cool. And hopefully this time around on Instagram too. I'm so excited to be here with the fabulous Rachel Linden, who is a lovely author. I've read both of your books so far, and this is the next one on my TBR pile. So I'm looking forward to reading it. It's going to be really fun. And Rachel, tell us just a little bit about yourself as an author. How did you get started doing this? You've got a young family. You've lived all over the world. How on earth did this happen? How'd you get started doing this?
Okay. Well, Sheila, first of all, thank you for having me on. Anytime I get to spend time with you is good time. And it's really fun to do it with other people too. So that's enjoyable.
And there goes my husband. Hi, Gerhard. You know what? This is reality TV rock.
I mean, I might have a dog or a child come in here. One never knows. I forgot to lock the door. I think like so many of us, Sheila, I wrote my first book when I could hold a crayon. Basically, I was 6 years old. And, when you're 6, you don't know a lot of the world. So you write about the world, So mine was called, we had a huge garden, and my first book was called Beans with an exclamation point, like the vegetable beans. And I illustrated it, and I did not get any of the illustration genes from either of my grandmothers. They all went to my sister. And then I took Cheerios boxes and I bound this little book in Cheerios boxes. And that was my first book. And my mom still has it. She put it in a Ziploc bag. And she was like, when you're famous, this is going to be worth money. And I was like, I don't think that's true, but here's hoping. So she still has it in a Ziploc bag somewhere. So that was my first one. But really, I got started with my adult books when I was living overseas in Budapest in Hungary, and I've been married for a few years, and I had always been writing a novel. But at some point I thought, I've wanted to do this for so long. Let's just see what happens. And so I got a list of agents, and my philosophy is get rejected by the best first.
Absolutely.
And so, why not just get rejected by the best and work my way down? So I was prepped for rejection. I was ready for it. Every author has to be ready for rejection because it happens a lot. And I started at the top and worked my way down, and son of a gun, one of them said yes.
That's so exciting. That's such an exciting moment when you get someone who says, yes, I want to represent you. When I got a call, and I was so clueless. I knew nothing. And a friend and I, there was a big book that listed all the publishers and agents, and we kind of did, well, this looks good. And I was so unprofessional when she called. I'm like, she'll begin screaming. It was pathetic. I was young. That's my excuse. I was young. It was very unprofessional, but it's just really exciting because it kind of validates you, doesn't it? It's like, oh, I can write. Somebody really wants to see what I have to say. Yeah. So that is very cool. Tell us quickly about your first 2 books. So because somehow you're new to some of my gang, and hi gang, I see some of you ringing in with hellos, and yes, it's chilly everywhere. Oh my goodness. But tell us a little bit just about a couple of your first books, if you happen to.
I actually, so Recipe for Life, Charmed Life is my 5th book. A lot of people don't know that, including you.
I didn't realize there were 2 others. Oh my goodness.
Because not very many people have read them, Sheila. That's why.
Oh my goodness.
So my first one, set on San Juan Island, it's called Ascension of Larks, about an international photographer finding the meaning of home. The second one is called Becoming the Talbot Sisters, and this takes place in Europe. This is my love letter to living in Central Europe, about twin sisters on an epic adventure through Central Europe and all the pitfalls and things that happen to them. And then this is one that most people think is my first one, but it's just the first one I read. Enlightenment of Bees. And this is about a baker who has her whole life fall apart in one day. She thinks she's getting proposed to, and that is not what happens. And so she impromptu signs up to go on this around the world humanitarian trip to find her new sweet spot in life. And this one is...
I love that one. That's my favorite so far.
This is my pandemic book. It was like what got me through the pandemic, and it's all about hope and not living in regret. And so this is about Lolly, who gives up her dream career and an engagement ring to the guy she loves when her mom dies suddenly. And she goes home to the Magnolia, a neighborhood in Seattle, to take care of her dad and younger sister and to run their family diner. And then 10 years later, she's given the chance to redo her 3 biggest regrets in life. So those are my
and
previous.
I know exactly where Magnolia is. My husband lived on Magnolia, and I lived on Queen Anne.
So
So
wait, I lived on Queen Anne.
we talked about, didn't we? We actually lived, I think, on even like the same street. It was very only you were a little bit further behind me, but
Small
very
world.
good. And I should mention that book has a recipe for lemon pie in it, you guys. If you
Yes, now we're putting recipes, and this one now has recipes for some of the French recipes that I created. They're
awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so
so what this one's about?
Yes. Now we need to, now that we're caught up, let's get to the new book. This just came out, didn't it? When did this hit the shelves?
January 9th, so just a week ago.
Okay, so this is like brand new shiny penny book.
Shiny penny book. Yep. So this is the story of Georgia, an American chef in Paris, who in one night loses her sous chef position, her cheating French boyfriend, and her sense of taste. She wakes up the next morning and all she can taste is bitter. She's having an epically bad night. And her estranged mother, who she hasn't seen since she was 5, contacts her and says, there's something you need to know about our family, invites her to San Juan Island, which is a little beautiful tiny island in the Pacific Northwest, kind of near where Sheila and I live. Sheila and I live like 30 minutes from one another. And so she goes to San Juan Island to try to regain her spark in the kitchen and to reconnect with the mother she hasn't seen in decades. And then there's also delicious food, Paris and San Juan Island as locations, and a love interest who is a grouchy yet handsome oysterman in chest-high orange rubber overalls.
Sounds very sexy.
He manages to make them sexy, which is the fun part. I was like, can I write?
Oh how did you do that? Oh my gosh, that's pretty funny. Well, of course, you'll have to read the book if you want to find out how he did that. But so did you say this book has recipes in it?
It has recipes in it. Let me see what I put back. I always put, so there's George's favorite mousse au citron, like this delicious it's basically whipped cream and lemon, and it is like to die. I tested it on Marie Bostwick, and she was a big fan, and she's a good cook. And then also, I think I have a recipe in here for my favorite French omelet, like a Julia Child style fancy French omelet. And then I make at least once a week myself and for my family. And any guests that stay over, I'm like, hey, you want a French omelet? Because I learned how to make it for the book. So now I just make it for everybody.
Oh, that just sounds so cool. And now you actually, what a sad thing you had to do. You had to go to Paris and do research for this book, didn't you?
Oh my goodness. You know, sometimes we suffer for our art, Sheila, and sometimes we have to suffer by going to Paris. So I'm not a historical fiction writer. I have so much respect for those ladies who do so much intense research with primary sources and libraries. No, my version of the amount of research that I want to do is to go to a place and eat things and walk around. And that is exactly what I do. That's my version of research. So I was like, I haven't been in Paris in years, and there's a lot of Paris in this book. So I want it to be accurate. So I think we better go to Paris. So husband, game fellow, he's like, sure. So we were on our way somewhere else. We did a stopover in Paris. And so I just walked all the places that Georgia walks. And then I ate all the macarons I could find. That was the sum total of it.
Are those things made of meringue? I'm not a big meringue fan. Are those all made of meringue?
No, meringues are different. Macarons are made of almond flour, so they're gluten-free. I'm celiac, so I can't eat a lot of baked goods, but those I can eat. And so they're light and fluffy, but they're made with almond flour and egg whites. So they're a little like chewy and puffy. They're not like a meringue that feels like it's a styrofoam peanut kind of thing. Okay. And then they have delicious flavors of usually buttercream or ganache on the inside.
Oh my, that sounds good. Yeah. So who out there has had I'm not going to say it right, a macaron. Say it again.
Macaron.
Who's had one of those things? Anybody have one of those? I've never had. I mean, I've seen them, and even when we've been like traveling in Europe, I've seen them, and I've never. And they look really cute, but I keep thinking, oh, it's meringue, and so maybe I'm going to try one.
You're missing out. Okay, I'm going to bring you some next time we see each other. I'm bringing you some macarons.
I guess I'm going to have to get educated here. Oh, that's a tough way to be educated. So if somebody was going to take a stroll in Paris and wanted to find, where are the best places to find a great bakery in Paris? They're probably everywhere, huh? But you think of certain streets, like how do you say that? The champs still. I never took French. I'm terrible.
I didn't speak French either, so my French is not very good. I feel a little awkward. I can write the things in French, and then I feel awkward trying to pronounce them. I think I love the Latin Quarter. I think everybody loves the Latin Quarter, but I find that there are all kinds of delicious, wonderful little shops tucked in all these places around Paris. So I think the Latin Quarter, you can always find good stuff. Good shops, good bakeries, but the best macarons in the world, not just in Paris, but in the world, are La Durée. And it's a Parisian bakery that makes macarons, and they're the best.
And what's the name of it? Tell me the name again.
La Durée, Laderee. And there are a couple shops not in Paris. They've expanded a little bit, and you can find them a few other places. So recently I was in Vancouver, BC, and they have a La Durée store. And so I went in with my husband and kids, and we bought macarons, and we ate. I have pictures, these beautiful macarons, and then I have a picture, just the plate with the little crumbs about 5 minutes later, because
just gone.
Yeah, gorgeous and decadent and beautiful, and all the shops have their tea shops, so you can sit in this opulent environment and have your tea and your macarons and feel like you're in Paris.
I definitely want to do. I'm going to have to get some recommendations for you. We lived. My husband grew up in Germany, and we lived there when we were first married. So we will take occasional trips back there because we have friends, and we're going to go do a trip back end of summer this year with another couple and show them around. But we do want to hit Paris, and so one of the things I want to do when I hit Paris, I want to find some really good bakeries and eat my way through Paris like you did. That sounds really fun.
Yes,
So
the good news is
that.
You can't throw a rock in any direction without hitting a good bakery in Paris. So you're going to be in good company. You're going to like it. You're going to like it a lot.
The tea shops. The tea shops sound. I mean, don't we all love tea shops, you guys? Those fancy little cute tea shops. Oh my goodness, with all the fancy china. By the way, several people said they have had macarons, and everybody seems to think they're pretty doggone good. So there you go. We're
going to initiate you, Sheila, and you're never going to turn back and be like, what have I been missing all of my life?
Okay, it's my goodness. Sometimes I think authors just want to go, no, I don't want to ask this question, but it's coming. So what inspired the book? Where'd you get the inspiration? Where'd the idea come from? Just pop full grown into your brain? Or was there something you saw or heard that made you think, oh, here's a book?
I have never written a sequel to any book, because every time, and it's not that I'm against it, it's just that when I get to the end, the characters feel like I'm sending them off into a happy ever after, and that's it. And so people say, well, why don't you write a sequel? And I just think, no, because it feels like their story is done, and we're just letting them go live their life. But there was a character in one of my books that at the end, I thought, oh my gosh, I want to write a story about her. She's got a further story. She was the best friend of one of the main characters. But I switched publishing houses right after that book. And my agent told me, you cannot write about characters from one publishing house with another publishing house. So I couldn't write about her. And so I thought, okay, so it's not her, but it could be someone like her, different name, different backstory, but a similar, what's the essence of what I want to say? And so that was the springboard for this book. But this book took an interesting turn because I thought it was about something else entirely. And it became very clear fairly early on that this is a book about forgiveness, about how do we forgive ourselves when we make mistakes and hurt people we love, and how do we forgive those we love when they are the ones who hurt us deeply. And so it's this there is romance, there's self-discovery, but at the heart of it, this is a mother-daughter love story. It's a story about a mother and daughter, and the mother has done something that has deeply, deeply hurt the daughter. And it's about the question of how they repair a relationship that has been strained for like 35 years, and how do they move forward, and what's it going to look like, and how do they navigate that? So it really is a story about forgiveness. So
that could be inspiring for people. I mean, we all have issues, and we all blow it sometimes in our relationships. And I think forgiveness is the most important tool you can put in your toolbox. And I think this is going to sound, and I'm not trying to sound sexist, it's just something that I have observed in life. I think we women tend to hold grudges more than our guys. I think women are very good at holding grudges, and that is not a good thing to hold on to, because it does not serve a purpose for anything. The only one who really suffers when you're holding a grudge is you. And I think so. A book that talks about forgiveness and starting over in a relationship. And of course, we know that if this is not to say if there has been physical abuse or really horrible, we don't say, I'm not saying, oh yeah, go skipping back to that person and be miserable some more. But you have to let go of things, and it's neat to see that these guys actually reconcile.
Yes, and it isn't simple. And I didn't want it to be simple because family relationships are not simple. Mother-daughter relationships are not simple. I love my mother. This book is dedicated to my mother,
Oh.
her prayers. But we have a complicated relationship, as any adult child and mother do, I think, and adult daughter and mother. So I love her, and sometimes she drives me crazy. Family can drive us crazy. Maybe it's not your mom that drives you crazy. Maybe it's your dad. Maybe it's a sibling. Like, man, there's just a lot of crazy that happens in families. And so I didn't want to gloss it over and just have this like, we just forgive someone we love, because there are real things that people do to hurt us that are very complicated, that have consequences. And so I did not want, and I absolutely agree. There are times when there is abuse and there is such toxicity that you have to have a boundary and saying, this is as far as I can go and no further. And that's a really important, healthy thing to know. But I didn't, I wanted to have these characters navigate, what does it mean to acknowledge and to acknowledge what's been done, and to say, this is painful, this is hard, these are the things, these are the failings, but then how do we move forward in a relationship? That's the real question. How do we move forward in a relationship when someone we love has hurt us?
I think, I love that. So that sounds like it's going to be very inspiring. If you had to sum up how you write in just like one or two sentences, because I think we have some people joining us who haven't had a chance to try you out as an author. So what would you say? What am I going to get when I read a Rachel Linden book?
That's a great question. So every book that I write has some similar elements. I'll put yummy locations. So Paris, San Juan Island, Hawaii, the Brighton in the United Kingdom. So there will always be these places that you want to go and you want to experience. And the settings, I think of the setting as a character. I love settings. I love making it vivid and rich so you feel like you're there. There will also be, speaking of vivid and rich and yummy, food. And I didn't start out meaning to make food an aspect, but I grew up in an Italian family where food was just central to everything. And so about 2 books in, my editor was like, look, I'm just hungry all the time reading your books. Food is obviously a thing for you. Lean into it, make it a feature. So there will always be delicious food. There will be second chance romance. There will be, or sometimes not second chance, there will always be sort of a side romance. And there will always be a touch of magical realism. And there will always be strong women facing big challenges in life and the complexities of family and relationships. And then there will be a hopeful, happy ending. I promise.
And we love that. I think a lot of us who hang out here together are big on happy endings. I just, my field theory is life is so hard. I just don't want to finish a book and be depressed. I just want to be going, yes, I'm happy that I read that, and I feel good about life, and I feel encouraged. And I think that's great that that's the kind of book, that you're writing. So I'm going to tell me now, magical realism, that's a term that I've only been aware of in the last couple of years or so. Can you just sum up, what does that mean when you say magical realism? What does that mean?
It means that you're writing, so it's not like fantasy like Harry Potter or Chronicles of Narnia that takes place in a different world. Magical realism takes place in our world, and most of the elements of our world are just as they are for you and me. But magical realism brings in these fun little, it's like little glitter on the top. There's just a little dash of magic. There's a little dash of the unexplainable. There's a little dash of like mystery and wonder in the story. And the way that I use magical realism is always to highlight the emotional character arc of the character. So there's always these little things that are being sprinkled through the story that are a little unexplainable and a little magical, that are helping her grow in the ways that she needs to grow. And so that's how I use it. And I like it. I think it's fun. I think it just adds this little dash of whimsy that I think is just really enjoyable to read.
So it's like she's almost got a little, like the fairy godmother factor.
It's a little tiny bit of like fairy dust over it.
Type of thing. So that's very fun. Well, let's go through. I've been having some fun talking with different friends about favorite things. So let's throw a few favorite questions at you. So since it's food, favorite food. Oh, it's going to be hard to pick one, I know. Okay, so pick two.
Okay, sushi and dark chocolate. Sushi and dark chocolate.
Oh, there's a food group all by itself, chocolate, right? I mean, oh my gosh, vitamin C. You got to get your vitamin C.
Right.
Okay, that's funny. What is your favorite thing to do when you are not writing?
I love to be outside. I love to be outside, and we live on a little island, here in the Pacific Northwest, and so the outside is just so close, and so I love to go walking, and that's probably one of my very favorite things in life is to be walking outside.
That is
And
very cool.
yeah,
I
I
saw
think
a picture of you and Marie kayaking a while
oh,
back.
yeah, I really like to kayak as well. Yeah, we live, on this little island, so we have kayaks, and so we pop those out there, and the seals will follow us, and it's really
Oh, that's so
feel like
cool.
I think, "How is this my life?" I grew up in the Midwest, which it has its own beauty, but to live out somewhere where you just pop your kayak in the salt water and seals pop up around you, it's like,
That's
"Huh."
pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
it's pretty amazing.
I was looking at stuff on your island at one point, thinking, "Oh man, you also have your own tennis courts." I'm like, tennis courts? Oh my gosh, the beach and tennis courts! I'd be in hog heaven. But we're gonna stay put where we are, I think. But
You have a
we,
great spot.
yeah, but it's you live in a really cool little place. It's very, very picturesque and lovely. So that is very cool. So favorite thing to do. Okay, favorite thing to wear when you want to be comfortable.
Oh, pajamas. And they're like the old man button-up pajamas, like, like the 1950s man.
Oh, that's too funny.
I love pajamas. And honestly, Sheila, I feel like I lucked out because I have found a profession. My husband was like, "You love to be in bed in your pajamas, not sleeping, just doing things." And he was like, "You have found a profession where literally for 10 months a year you can sit in your bed in your pajamas and make things up." I was like,
Does it get any better than that? Don't have to worry about a work wardrobe or putting
"No,
on makeup. I
no."
put on my makeup anyway because I scare myself when I look in the mirror. So I'm a day without makeup is a scary day. I'm not gonna go a day without makeup.
I
Oh my
always
goodness.
think the writing life is so funny because for like 10 months a year, no one sees us. We don't have to dress. Like you just wear yoga pants, you put your hair, you don't have to wash your hair. You're just making things up in a room alone. And then 2 months a year, you're like on television. It is a weird life. It is a weird life. So like 2 months a year, we got to be really glam. And then 10 months a year, it's like, who's even to know?
Crazy. And this is a crazy business too, guys, as a reminder. And again, now we were talking last month with Peggy about budgets and being wise with our money. And so, of course, I don't want you to fall off the money cliff and go up to your eyeballs in debt. But the way we pay the bills is, of course, writing. And so I want to encourage you, if you haven't tried, Rachel, maybe this is the time to go out and buy this new book and just see what you think, because she's got young kids. She needs to eat. So just throwing that out there.
Well, and I understand, like, people, we all have different budgets. And if you're like, wow, I have actually just bought all the books that I can for, this month or whatever, that's okay. One of the best things to do too is to ask for it at your local library.
Yes,
Your
because your
library,
library will buy it in for you.
the library will buy it in, and then you get to share the love with other readers because not just you enjoy it, but other readers enjoy it as well. So if you can't afford it, ask your library to get it. And if they already have this one, then be like, hey, how about the other ones of Rachel Linden? So you can help me. You don't have to pay for it. And then you're helping other people because they get more fun books.
That's a really great suggestion. And libraries are a really good way to discover new writers.
Mhm.
In fact, I read, this was way back years ago when The Help came out. I first found that at the library and read it. And then I loved the book so much, I bought it because I thought I want my own copy to hold forever. And so libraries really are a good way to get a chance to meet a new author, So, now Tanya wants to know, are these standalone books?
They are. Each of them are standalone. Yep. So you don't have to read them you can just read them in any order.
Yeah. So that's a good thing. I like the fact that you put recipes in them. That's just I love getting recipes in a book. That's just
And they're recipes that I have made. So I test these out in my kitchen by trial and error, and then I put the recipes in. So the first one with lemon drop pie, my editor was like, people love recipes. Do you want to put a recipe for lemon drop pie? And I was like, sure. How hard can it be? I've never made a lemon meringue pie in my life, but I was like, oh yeah, no problem. I'll just make one to put in a book for like thousands of people to read and try. And so I did. Through kind of trial and error, we ate a lot of lemon pie for a few weeks that summer. And And eventually I was like, oh my gosh, this is delicious. I would do this. And so that's the recipe in the book. So it worked, but there were some duds that did not work beforehand. I will
Or
admit.
else you guys, and I'm sorry, and thank God. I mean, my readers are really kind. I cannot seem to write a book without some mistake or I mix a character up. And I apologize, you guys. I try. And recipes, I really try because I put a recipe in my newsletter every month. And half the time I'll mess that up or someone say, well, what about this ingredient? How do I do it? It's like, I'm really sorry. I'll do better. The worst thing I ever did, though, this was one of my older, I love that book. It was called Merry Xmas. And it was about a couple, they were divorced and but they couldn't afford, they both had to be stuck in the same house because nobody could afford to move out. So they're stuck in this house. And anyway, so I had all these recipes I was putting in the book. And one of the ones I put in was for red velvet cake. And I have like the recipe for that. That's really old, not the cream cheese frosting. This is the super duper frosting that goes with red velvet cake. Anyway, I remembered all the ingredients except for the sugar. I'm looking at that book and I'm like, sugar is not listed in this book, isn't it? It's so mortifying, and oh my gosh. So putting recipes in books is a really good idea. But boy, I tell you, for me, myself, I have to check and check and check again because I always screw something up. But anyway, and I just want to say hi to a couple of my street team people are here, and thank you for showing up. We appreciate that. And somebody had said something really important, and I lost it in the comments. You know what? This is why I will never be Oprah, and nobody's paying me to do this. I'm not going to ever make it as a fabulous interviewer, but that's okay. Anyway, see if there are any questions that I miss while I'm doing that. Let's do one more favorite experience. Well, let me put that in a different way. Favorite thing to do when you're traveling, or favorite place you visited. You've lived abroad, so this is a little hard to narrow down.
Okay, so favorite thing to do. So our family loves to have adventures. And so I love to just wander. We just like to on foot explore places. And one of my favorite places is Venice because you're on an island. You're on a series of little islands. You really can't go that far, but you can just wander and get lost. So we love the unexpected. We love just wandering streets and seeing what you come across. So that's our favorite way to see things. And then, favorite place. Oh, golly, Sheila, you can't do that to me.
I know.
No, I think I'm over 50 countries now that I've visited. And so, but I would say that there are a couple that have hold a special place in my heart. So my family's from northern Italy. And the first time I ever went to Italy, I was 16 years old. And I set foot in that country, and it felt like my whole body just went,
oh, you're home. Felt like you're home.
Yeah, every single time I go to Italy, there's just this sigh of like, and it feels really wonderful. So I love Italy. And Thailand. I think Thailand is
absolutely really?
I adore Thailand. We're planning to take our kids in the next few years. It is just warm, friendly, beautiful, great food, accessible without being an exotic feeling without being difficult to navigate. So yeah, I love Thailand.
So that's very interesting. I never would have expected you to say Thailand. So
Thailand and Slovenia in Europe is an undiscovered gem. So everybody loves Croatia. Croatia got really popular a few years ago. Croatia is great, but I adore Slovenia. It's beautiful. It's like this little green jewel.
Oh, interesting. Slovenia. Yeah, we did a little cruise where we got to get a little taste of that. We did Dubrovnik and what else? Which was the other one you just said?
Anyway, Slovenia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, so that's just really fun and travel again. That's something sometimes we have to save for that. And by the way, I'm going to just hark back really quickly to when we were talking with Peggy. As many of you know, I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan. This guy's big thing is get out of debt, don't carry debt, and you'll be so much better off if you don't. But he talks about one of the things that he suggests that people do is you spend a certain amount, some of your money, of course, taxes. You got that. If you got a business, there goes like 40 or 50% of your income. But after that, you put some money, you invest some money, and you give do some more generous giving, and then you enjoy, and so traveling is something I'm going to want to encourage you guys, if you've got some place that you always wanted to see or something you always wanted to do, maybe now's the time to just start a little fund, I'm going to go somewhere fund, and a lot of you are still sweet young things and you have time to save for that. And maybe you too can be like the amazing Rachel and start seeing the whole world. And if you can't see the whole world, at least you can read her books and see the world through her books.
And I will say, Sheila, we were working for a faith-based organization, not for profit in Europe. So I did all of this traveling on a shoestring. It was like sleeping on people's couches and, staying in hostels and taking trains, dodgy trains.
Well, that's real glam.
So it was not glam, but it was wonderful. Travel itself is such an adventure. So when I was saying 50 countries and you were talking about Dave Ramsey, who we are also big fans of, I was thinking, I should say, we don't have gobs of money, but we were working for a not-for-profit. And as part of that, we were doing a lot of travel, and it was very, very budget travel, but it was also just really wonderful. So, Thailand was like a hut on the beach for $25 a day, and a meal was $2. But it was fun, exotic, and fabulous.
So some of these places, I think sometimes when we think of travel, we think, well, I can't afford to go there. And maybe there are places you really can afford to go because maybe your dollar will stretch a little farther. And you don't have to stay in the 5-star hotel to experience another culture, and I think you're proof of that. So you guys, we're almost out of time here, and it's so lovely that Rachel, she was off doing stuff earlier today and came scurrying home just to spend some time with us. So I hope you guys have been enjoying hearing her visit. We will quickly make a quick announcement here. Earlier, we did a BOGO, buy one, get one free for those of you who pre-ordered a copy of the Best Life Book Club. We actually have 10 books left that we can give away to someone who pre-orders. So if you want to take advantage of that, post under one of those 2 posts that I made. Don't post here, I'll never find you. But if you go ahead and order a copy of that, we're going to send you a free Sheila book. We've got a bunch. We're cleaning out the cupboards here. We're getting rid of stuff, making room for new things for giveaways. And so this is your last chance. I'm going to close it out probably tomorrow or the next day. We got 10 books left, and it'll be a first come, first serve. If you want to get a free Sheila book, get out there and do your pre-order for the book. It's available everywhere. And also get out there and check out Rachel and get online and see if you can get a copy of her new book. And like we said, if you feel like you yourself can't afford it, trot thee to thy nearest library and say, hey, would you bring in this book for me, please? Because libraries will do that for us. And so let's get out there and support Rachel and see if we can get her some new readers, because she's just lovely. And I know you're going to love her books. And I want to thank you all for coming, and especially thank you, Rachel, for taking time. Is there any last thing that we need to find out about you before we let you go? I won't ask you your age or what you weigh, but is there anything fabulous that we need to know?
Oh, golly. Okay. Here's something wild, Sheila. So Amy just asked if I'm a risk taker. And she said, Venice is wonderful. She said, have you been to Japan? So Amy, I'm going to say that my husband is asking me to write a book in Japan so we can go do research. So we're working on that. I haven't been to Japan yet, but that's on our list. And I am a little bit of a risk taker. I don't love risking life and limb, but I like doing the thing that goes, that sounds kind of fun and crazy. Let's do it. So Sheila, here's something that you and very few people know. When I was 20 years old, I and another friend named Rachel, and we were both like just these little tiny twig-like things at that point. The Rachels, we entered a women's hand sawing competition in a local county fair, and we came in second.
Wow.
So not only am I a best-selling author, but I am a second place hand sawing champion in the Narrows, Virginia County Fair.
Like signing, like that kind of signing, or painting signs?
Sawing, like we were sawing large logs.
Oh my God. Quite the interesting lady, Miss Rachel, I must say.
You have a large log, like with handles on either side, and you have to go like this. And we just, I don't know how we did it, but we came in second. So there you go.
I thought you'd said signing. I'm like,
oh, no, hand sawing.
Sawing. Oh my honkus kabonkus. That's just, oh my goodness. You're such a delicate little thing too. I'm trying to wrap my mind around that and picturing that. But there you go, folks. There, you never know what you're going to learn about writers when you come here and hang out with us and party. And again, Rachel, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time to party with us. I'm going to end our live stream on all platforms and see if I can not screw that up. But again, everybody, thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the night and a great week. And Rachel, you're a doll. And there's the book. Get out there and find that book, you guys.
Thanks. Have a good Sunday.